Unfortunately, LaMelo Ball and the Charlotte Hornets fall to the Boston Celtics in Game 1 of the 2022 NBA preseason. With the score being unimportant, I'm here to give you all my key takeaways as well as some positional breakdowns. With that being said, let's get right into it.
I'm from the foe. You dig?
Welcome to The Way I See It. I am Jamario Rashad. This is a Carolina Panthers and Charlotte Hornets fan channel. I bring you fire content each and every day. So go ahead and hit the subscribe button as well as hit the like button on this video to help me get pushed in the algorithm. Now let's go ahead and get right into it. Now, a few of my key takeaways that I had both defensively and offensively in game one of this preseason were early, I in the first quarter, I applauded the defensive effort I was seeing put on display by the Charlotte Hornets in the half court. There was an instance where I actually was brought to my feet seeing Terry Rozier run back on defense and trying to get set up on defense in the half court. I was actually applauding that. But the sad case with that being that did not last too long as the game progressed, it was very apparent that the Charlotte Hornets are going to struggle, or at least did struggle in this game, with transition defense. The Boston Celtics were, I think they had like 18 assists on made buckets in the first half. They were getting a lot of open shots, and I say if I had to estimate, that would be at least probably 60 plus of those shots were made in transition. They got out, they ran, they scored, they were efficient, they out rebounded us, they out hustled us, and defense just happened to be a really big problem in this situation. So the transition defense was something that was very terrible. But moving on over to the other side of the ball, watching the Boston Celtics and the way that they were able to put the ball in the goal, it was very apparent that they simply have more bucket getters than the Charlotte Hornets do. Now, LaMelo Ball can go get his shot, and Terry Rozier can go get his shot, but it was very apparent that this offense was missing that 20 points per game that Miles Bridges was able to assist with last season. Also, with Gordon Hayward not playing, that was whatever he was going to contribute on the offensive side of the ball was also very it lacked a lot today because majority of the offense either had to be made by LaMelo Ball or was just catch and shoot opportunities. We didn't have very many players that could just get the ball and go get a bucket, and that's where I think Miles Bridges' absence this season is going to cause an issue because it definitely did in this game. Now, both Mason Plumlee and Nick Richards had an opportunity to start in different halves. See, Mason Plumlee started the beginning of the game, and Nick Richards started the second half. Mason Plumlee is Mason Plumlee. Everybody knows he sucks. I'm not gonna pile on it in this video. It's not about him. He got out there. He did Mason Plumlee things. He wasn't absolutely terrible, but I've seen enough of the Mason Plumlee show, and I'm pretty sure all Hornets fans think that it's time to move on from him. Now, Nick Richards, I personally like Nick Richards. I truly appreciate the effort that he puts forth out there. Now, the issue that I see with Nick Richards is the simple fact that he has the desire, he has the want to, and he also has the size of an NBA center, but he just simply doesn't have the skill. And we're going to get into that a little bit later again when I get to my positional breakdowns for these positions. Now, in totality, the thing that I was most disappointed with was the projected growth of the second year players that I thought that I was going to see in this game. I was not impressed with neither of the three, be it James Bouknight, JT Thor, or Kai Jones. Neither one of them actually jumped off the screen for me. They all actually look like, I'm not going to call it regression, but it doesn't look like they've taken any steps forward so far, at least not in that 48 minutes of basketball that I was able to look at. So with that being said, that concludes my key takeaways. And in the next part of this video, I'm going to go ahead and give you a position by position breakdown for what I thought of the players and who I project out that I believe Steve Clifford should have as far as the starters coming off the bench, yada, yada, yada. So with that being said, if you made it to this point in the video, go ahead and hit the like button, man. I appreciate you being here. Go ahead, subscribe, fire content each and every day, man. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and move right into the point guard position now. I'm not going to dive deep into the stats for these breakdowns. I'm just going to give you the general overview of what I saw, because this was the first game in a couple of in months. I'm not gonna harping in on the box score too much, but LaMelo Ball, he was not very efficient. His field goal percentage was very, very low. But one thing that he mentioned recently, both he and Steve Clifford mentioned that LaMelo Ball would like to consistently finish at the basket more often, as well as draw more free throws. That was something that was not on display tonight. LaMelo Ball actually struggled to finish a lot when he got to the rack. And he also, I'm not really sure if he got to the free throw line at all. I know he didn't in the first half of the game. And I think that's something that will change. It still looks like the refs aren't giving him the all-star treatment that we the fans think he deserves. But I expect to see better growth out of LaMelo, but this being the first game, it was not very impressive. But hey, I'm objective. I'm not here. I'm not a stan or anything. LaMelo is my guy, but this was not the best game. Now, number 2 on this list as far as the point guards was Terry Rozier, and the only reason that I put it like that was because Steve Clifford elected to put Terry Rozier in as the first point guard off the bench. So James Bouknight came in as the 6-man role, sending Terry to the bench as the first man to the bench. And when the unit started to rotate, Terry Rozier was actually left in there, put back in the game when LaMelo Ball came out to actually hold down that backup point guard role. I do not like Terry Rozier as a point guard. He is a score-first guard and a 2-guard more than anything. Making plays and setting up the offense is not his strong suit. He didn't get out there and he didn't look impressive whatsoever making plays. I'm not looking at the box score. I'm not sure if he had any assists during the duration of his time at point guard, but it did not look impressive. So moving on, Dennis Smith Jr. With his time, you could tell that Dennis is really trying to make this team. You could tell that he is on a non-guaranteed contract, but I'm actually very impressed with what he was able to do in his limited minutes. With us not bringing back Isaiah Thomas, I think Dennis Smith Jr. could be a welcome addition to the team. He's not much of a shooter, so in those catch-and-shoot situations, he may not be able to be very effective, but he is good at running the offense, as well as one of those players that can get his own shot if necessary. So I truly do appreciate that coming from Dennis Smith Jr. and I hope to see him make the team and actually crack it as the backup point guard so Terry Rozier doesn't have to do that. Now the shooting guards, Terry Rozier, I mentioned him in the point guard breakdown a moment ago, but as far as him in his natural position of the shooting guard, he himself wasn't very impressive in this game. It was just a Terry Rozier performance. I'm not going to put too much stock into it in the preseason game, but he didn't show me anything to say that he's going to go out there and average more than what he did last season. But I have to commend him on the early defensive effort, as I did a moment ago in the takeaways. But his performance was nothing to ride home about. I'm not going to call it terrible, but the entire team was pretty bad, and Terry didn't do anything to make that better. Now, James Bouknight, as I said in one of my key takeaways, I was very disappointed with what I saw out of the second-year players. I thought that all 3 of them, or at least this guy in particular, because I have been beating the drum for this guy all summer since last year, since I was Team Fire Borrego, all the smoke ready, all behind James Bouknight. He looked very hesitant in the game. When he got the ball, he looked like he he couldn't determine whether he wanted to attack, but he was very passive at the end of the day. He would make it. He would size up the opponent. He would act as if he was gonna drive. He would either step back or like just make a weird pass at the end. So that's not what I was expecting, and especially with Steve Clifford allowing him to come in the 6-man role, I expected him to be a lot more aggressive and show me a lot more on the offensive side of the ball. So James Bouknight, I was actually pretty disappointed with him tonight, and hopefully that improves in the next game. Now, Bryce McGowens, he didn't get as many minutes as I wanted him to. LiAngelo Ball came in at the end of the game. He did what he does. I'm not really going to break down LiAngelo. I know a lot of people want that, but he didn't get enough minutes for me to actually talk about him contributing. But I will mention his name and saying that those minutes should have, in my opinion, gone to Bryce McGowan so we could go out there and see what he could do, because James Bouknight, with his higher number of minutes, he wasn't actually out there making too much happen. So I know this being the first game, if Bouknight would have actually gotten taken out a little bit sooner for McGowan so we could see what he was made of, I would have liked that a little bit more. So my breakdown on McGowan's is incomplete. Now, for the small forwards, I'm going to start to speed this up a little bit more. I don't want to keep you all here all day. Kelly Oubre and Jaden McDaniels were both the two most efficient players of the day on the team. In my opinion, if the decision is left up to these two players whenever Gordon Hayward is taking his load management minutes, I honestly would rather see Jalen McDaniels in the starting lineup. He provides just as efficient shooting, in my opinion, with more of an ability on the defensive side of the ball. So that versatility being in the lineup with LaMelo Ball, I believe, is a lot more dangerous than just the spot-up shooting of Kelly Oubre, who, if you followed his career, especially here in Charlotte, it is very hit or miss. He is either really hot or really cold, but you want somebody to be more consistent, and I believe Jalen McDaniels can bring you that consistency. Now, JT Thor being the second of the second-year players that I expected to take a jump today. JT Thor, he played significant minutes. He did not register any field goals. He actually missed the one alley-oop duck attempt early in the game that was very disappointing. But beyond that, I did not see him get very engaged in the offense. I didn't see him assert his will in any way, shape, or form. But actually, after he being a second-round pick that got more minutes than James Bouknight last year, I expected him to be able to come in, do a lot more, provide a lot more for the team in either his small forward role or the power forward role that he sometimes is going to have to, play both of. JT Thor just didn't show me very much. So that's all I really have to say about him. Now on to the power forwards. PJ Washington. His continued growth in the on the defensive side of the ball is very apparent. He had a couple of steals out there. I remember one in particular, him cutting off a backdoor cut, him getting the steal, starting the break. He was taking on whomever he was assigned to on the defensive side of the ball in the half court. He was staying in front of him to the best of his abilities. I don't really have much to say out of PJ except for I would like to see him shoot the ball more consistently this year and be one of those guys that can actually step up in Bridges' absence to bring more points to this offense. And tonight he didn't necessarily show that, but he didn't show me anything to be discouraged of PJ Washington. And Jalen McDaniels and JT Thor, same breakdown as I had with those two for their other positions. I really like Jalen McDaniels, but so far I've been a little bit in this game, I've been a little disappointed with JT Thor. Now, finally, the most controversial position on the Charlotte Hornets going into this season, as well as last season, was the center, the big man position. As I said in the beginning, Mason Plumlee did Mason Plumlee things. He only got the ball and tried to start the fast break one time, which is, I guess, a win in my book, but that should still be down to 0. I really do not like this guy. He was terrible for us last year. Now, Nick Richards, as I said earlier, just to recap from the key takeaways, he has the size to do it, but Nick Richards, I just don't believe that he has the actual skill to go out there and actually perform. Now, the biggest controversy that was said during Media Day by Coach Steve Clifford, in my opinion, was the fact that first-round pick this year Mark Williams, center out of Duke University, if the season started today, would be the third string behind Mason Plumlee as well as Nick Richards. And I thought that may have just been a motivating ploy to get Mark Williams to play harder in training camp, to get him to play harder in practice, knowing that we needed his help in the starting lineup as quick as possible. Hopefully that would have just lighted a fire under him. Well, honestly, Steve Clifford wasn't lying. Mark Williams didn't come in until I want to say sometime in the Mark Williams did not check in until the third quarter. He did not play at all in the second half. He came in at the same time as he came in right before or right after Dennis Smith Jr. or with Dennis Smith Jr. and right before Kai Jones and Jello Ball. So we did not get a large sample size of Mark Williams. But in the time that I did see him on the floor, put up against NBA size and NBA talent, he didn't look to be as much of a standout as he did in college, but this was his first game. We all know that his prowess is mostly on the defensive side of the ball. We can't expect too many buckets out of him this year, but I would have liked to see him in at least a few minutes with LaMelo Ball to see if they could get that high-low pick and roll going, to see how good he is with catching the ball and actually finishing, maybe get him a few lobs. But we weren't able to see that in this game. So, again, my grade on Mark Williams, as it is on a few other of these players, is going to actually have to be incomplete because I didn't see enough from him, but he didn't do enough to stand out, but he didn't do anything bad enough to make me say that he played bad. So with that being said, that brings us to our last player here, that being Kai Jones, the third and last of the second-year players that was drafted last year. He was actually the second first-round pick that we drafted after James Bouknight last year. And a lot of people, when he was drafted, knew that he was going to be a project for at least 1 year. But it appears that he's going to be a project for at least a second year. Kai Jones has not developed enough to be a regular rotation piece in any NBA offense or defense. I really like this guy. He has a really positive attitude. And if we could combine he and Nick Richards into one player, like Nick Richards' will and his IQ, but, with the freakish athleticism of Kai Jones, I think that will make up for, the lack of, natural skill and or talent on either one of them, and they would be great, but that's not the case. So Kai Jones right now remains the fourth string center on the roster for the Charlotte Hornets, and he probably will be spending a lot of time with the Greensboro Swarm. So with that being said, that is my breakdown. I appreciate you all for tuning in to the video. This is I just passed 100 subscribers, so please ignore the banner below. I'm going to be updating this soon, and a winner will be announced. With that being said, man, you all leave your comments below. What do you all think? What did you all see in terms of this first game for the Charlotte Hornets? What would you like to see next game? And I'll be back probably tomorrow, maybe today, with even more fire content. So go ahead and subscribe, man. With that being said, I'm Jamario Rashad. This is the way I see it. Peace.